Here we go then, guys. As promised, I'm going to attempt to remove my Daystate shroud and refit it, because there has been some problems with the O-rings in the muzzle end. I've done this a couple of times, so I think the way I do it is fairly successful. I just think I should say you attempt this at your own risk. A small amount of damage will occur because you have to hold the end of your silencer adapter in the vise, and that's the only damage that I have actually caused to my gun. But you do this at your own risk. Can't be held responsible for any damage that you cause to your own gun, and I'm doing this for education, so hopefully you can have a go at it yourself. Okay, so it's quite tricky because I'm holding the camera as well, but first of all we need to remove the scope and the stock, because these little screws underneath, unfortunately your Allen key won't clear the stock. Now I've got some little ball end sockets, but I don't think they're readily easily available, so I'll do it with conventional tools. So let's start by removing the scope. Now what I would do, because my scope's set up and I don't expect to be able to put it back on again without re-zeroing, I think I'm going to put some tape around here so that I don't have to mess about with my eye relief. So I'm just going to put the camera down. Hopefully you can still see a little bit of what I'm doing. Yeah. So I'm going to lay some tape on the table, get my knife and just cut a bit of tape off. I'm going to put that, there you go, simple as that. A little bit of tape around near the front clamp. Okay, 3mm Allen key. Always, now this is obviously the mechanic in me coming out, tighten things up and loosen them in a diagonal fashion. This way you prevent any warpage, you don't bend anything unnecessarily, and do it evenly. And another point I'll make whilst taking these screws out is always start your screw thread by your fingers. Never put them in with a tool. If you put them in with a tool, if you cross thread it, you might not feel it until it's too late. Put them safely to one side. Now I've got to confess that I have already had this scope off today, but if yours has still got the tape, the rubber tape on the inside of the mounts, they will be very tight to come off. So my tip would be the broadest blade screwdriver you've got, put it in the gap as far as you can go, and then rock gently backwards and forwards until that pops. Obviously you'd be using two hands and it wouldn't fall on the floor, because now I don't know which way round that cap was, and I always like to make sure things like that stay the same orientation. Again, sometimes the scope gets stuck in the mounts, and I'm afraid, I think it's just a matter of brute force to pop that out, but there we go. It is a bit tight. I'm going to put the camera down again. Right, put that safe to one side. And here we have the gun, no scope on it. Of course, leave these mounts on, and then your scope will go in exactly the same position, so that you shouldn't have to bother too much about re-zeroing. Tell you what I really should do as well, let's just prove the gun is safe. Is it on? Yes it is, so get the key, lay the gun over, turn it off, yes that's off, remove my mag, gun safe, okay. Now I'm just going to undo, or take off the fill cap and undo. Well, it shouldn't be too tight, it doesn't need to be too tight, there we go. Like I say, the only reason we're taking the gun from the stock is so that we can get to these little Allen screws here with my long Allen key. Actually, as you can see, it's just at the wrong angle. Can't get that in there properly. Right, put the gun down. There you go. Stock off. Oops. Stock safe now. Okay, slacken off these two screws. You can see that. Slacken off that screw. As a matter of fact, let's take it out because it has to slide forward through the barrel band, and if the screw is protruding, it's not going to make it. These are 2mm, by the way. Put all my screws safe to one side. Okay, now the barrel should, now those screws are undone, this barrel will come forward and off the barrel. There we go. I think the difficulty people have is putting this back on the barrel. Because if you try now to put this shroud back over the barrel, it'll go so far and then get stuck at the silencer end. So let me show you what you need to do now. Ignore the Lambretta engine, that's another project. I'll put this down here, see if I can. Yeah, I think you can see my vice clearly enough. Now what you've got to do, one is be extremely careful, but take off the protector, put the silencer adapter in your vice as far as you can without gripping your shroud. That looks pretty good. Now you have to do it up quite tight, and the first time I took this off, it took two of us to grab hold of this shroud and twist to get it off, and I also heated this up with a hairdryer. I don't need to do that today because mine's been off before, and a quick, oh, there you go, twist, and that is now off. So let me see if I can show you what's in here. Take out your silencer adapter, turn it up, take out your baffle. Now in here, can you see that? Oh, you know, got some good light. There is what I refer to as a tuning fork. It's not really a tuning fork, it's just a fork that locates on the end of the barrel. But the way to get this out, the easiest way I've found to get this out, is a few sharp taps on your wooden bench, something that's softer than your shroud. And when we look in here again, is it getting any closer? No. Here she comes. And there it is, near the end. Once it's there, you can get something long, poke it in the hole, ease it out, there you go, and it is out. That's the bad boy that causes all the problems. As you can see on here, you've got an O-ring there, an O-ring there. That's the one that falls off inside your shroud. And there's no way in the world, without taking this out, that you're going to get that back on there, and then that back on there, and then that screwed on the end there. Can't be done. So you have to take it apart like this. I'll show you where this goes. Here's your barrel. Whoops, don't want to zoom in too much. Here's the barrel. This has got, I don't know if you can see it, a little recess, so it doesn't go all the way on. First time I did it, I thought, why isn't that going all the way on? But it doesn't. That's as far as it goes. Then your O-ring goes on, then your baffle goes on, and then your adapter screws in the end of the shroud. So that's how it looks inside your barrel. This other O-ring that you can see here, I'm not going to take it off. Oh well, I can do. There you go. That other O-ring stays in place if you don't take this out, because that is what guides this tuning fork up inside your shroud. Now I haven't done this before, but I don't see any harm in a little bit of Vaseline on these O-rings, the smallest amount. I mean, look, you can hardly see it on the end of my finger, just to lubricate that up. Smallest amount, rub it all the way around. Now that will slide in and out there a lot easier. Next time you come to take it off, you might not have to bash it as hard. Right, replacement. To make it easier, I'm going to put the stock back on. But only so it can be held, he says. Stock's giving me a bit of grief today. There we go. Right, I'm not going to bolt it down, just going to leave it like that so you can see what's going on. Okay, there's your gun without the shroud on. Take your shroud, which is now empty of all internal parts, and slide it back on through your barrel band all the way to the action. Now this is where people have problems, because they put it on and that doesn't close all the way up. Now there is a recess in there, but believe me, the shroud is bigger than the recess. It doesn't go in there. Due to popular belief, that just fits on flush. Then put your screws, your 2mm screws. You can pull this back, turn it around a bit to get your screw in, a little grub screw. Turn it a bit more, second grub screw. Now I haven't put the stock bolt back in because I need to lift this out of the stock just nip those up and then off a quarter of a turn so it still moves. And all you do is rock it backwards and forwards until you're happy that it's flush up against your action. Lift it out the stock a bit. Nip that one. And do the same the other side. So now both my screws have been tightened both sides. There's no gap with the action at all. You can't see no daylight through there. That's flush. Just here is flush. Then you come back to the muzzle end and you reassemble your silencer parts. So here you go. This is your tuning fork part that I referred to. Put that in. Oh, sorry, wrong way. Put it in the right way around. Tuning fork to the barrel. Then your baffle that sits up against the O-ring that normally falls off, and this is why you can only do it this way round, because once that thing slid down, sometimes when you pull the barrel out it brings the tuning fork with it. O-ring falls off, then you're in all sorts of trouble. Push that in, you'll feel some, there it is, that's come to a stop, and now it's pushing onto the end of the barrel, and that should be flush with your shroud. Take the end, your silencer adapter, thread it on. Now this is the part where you know whether you've done it right or not, because as you screw this in it will come up, there you go, oh no, a little bit further, there you go. I can feel now that's come into contact with the O-ring. Another twist, there you go, and that's done up finger tight and it's completely flush, and you've got no gap at the other end. Job's a good one. Tighten this up with, I wouldn't suggest mole grips because mole grips are going to get a bit messy on there, but probably pipe spanners, you know, like your plumber's grips. Mine are not available at the moment, they're at my van and my van's being serviced, so can't show you, but you know, you get the idea. Pair of grips on there. You've already done a little bit of damage on this anyway by putting it in the vise, so grip it in the same place, but that is literally the only damage that I have caused to my gun by doing this procedure. Okay, I'm going to put the scope back on now, but I think I've covered that. I'll do another video on how I set my scope up before I take it to the range.